Okay. So I've got just a few things that I want to introduce to you guys. For the most part, we've already introduced everything. You should be, hip deep in your discussion by now. That is due on Friday, and then we will do peer reviews of the discussion over the weekend like we normally do. If you haven't gotten your peer reviews done for the results, please get those done. And so we are really down to the last few things. So that's pretty cool. I can't beat that. So we will just keep rolling and go from there. So the last two, well, I guess three things. I didn't even put one, right? Now basically you need a title, right? Your title is basically going to be either your main conclusion or an overarching thing, and then it just ends with a colon, a systematic review. So it could be effects of dry needling on range of motion, or it could be something like dry needling increases hamstring range of motion, a systematic review, something like that. All right, then you have your structured abstract. Okay, and that's relatively easy to do. You're just going to create a abbreviated, usually no more than 300 to 400 words. And you just create, not bulleted, but like in bold, but in paragraph form. So like it's not starting each new line, you can just bold it there. Start with background. This is your introduction. All right, give, 2, maybe 3 sentences about that. Your objectives, right? Your objectives is basically going to be your purpose statement. So you can just pretty much copy that purpose statement right into there. Data sources, that's pretty straightforward. Study eligibility criteria, you have that in your methods. Participants and interventions. So that is, similar to your study eligibility criteria. With that, if you have anything more specific than your normal if you had, or let me take that back. If you had specific things in your study eligibility criteria, like it had to be at a, published after a certain date, or you needed, I mean, we all probably have in our study eligibility criteria that they have to be written in English. We probably have in there that they need to be randomized controlled trials, different things like that. Then the participants and interventions here would be the remaining study eligibility criteria as far as, do you have specific participants or interventions? And so if you don't have enough for each of those individually, you can combine them just into a single study eligibility criteria statement. Your study appraisal, and we're not doing synthesis, so just your study appraisal methods, just a very short overview of your methods, a short overview of your results, including both the flow chart and the data or results table. But you need to just, for the flow chart, you will probably describe the major points of that, how many were resulting in from the search, how many were reviewed for, or how many you got down to full text, and how many were included at the end. The results then again from the results table are just going to be, maybe 1 or 2 sentences highlighting, the most important results, usually the results that are significantly different between your groups with that. Give a short, maybe 1 or 2 sentences at most on your limitations. Your conclusions and implications of key findings are your discussion, mainly from that conclusion point of view. But if there is something particularly important from your discussion you need to include, that would be that implications of key findings. So that's your abstract there. Then the last part, which isn't even on here, I guess. See, there is your results, or not your results, your references. And so at the very end, you have your references page. You can format that, according to the style you are most comfortable with, because like I said before, AMA style is very hybrid by a lot of the journals. So in fact, really when you structure your paper, your abstract in particular, as well as your references, that's where you might have some differences based specifically on your journal. So I'm not going to go through and really get all bent out of shape on, whether you have 1 space or 2 space, or whether you put a period after the initial, or whether or not you have 3 authors or 5 authors, or, and used et al. Or whatever with that sort of stuff. I do ask that you at least use the numbering system, because that's relatively common throughout. You can then, oops, I bumped that. Don't touch. You can then organize either in order that they appear in the paper, which is my preference and more AMA, or there's the hybrid where you organize them in alphabetical order by the last name of the author, which isn't as easy to read, but is kind of that hybrid APA, AMA sort of style. So don't spend a lot of time on the reference page. With that, it's, I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but it's really just not that important, right? In all reality, in today's day and age, I don't know why you don't just give the title and the DOI number. That's all anybody really cares about. You can go find it in 37 seconds if you want to, right? So, I mean, as long as you have, enough information there for me to find the article if I so choose, which I will not. But if I was really interested in your paper and was doing that, or more importantly, so that sometime if you wanted to publish this, you could, and you have that in context, but then you just spend a whole bunch of time cleaning your reference section at the end anyway. So don't even, worry about that at this point. So that is the last little parts of our